Hi, everybody, and welcome to episode 3 of the Youth There It Is podcast. Youth, there it is. Youth,
Hey, hey, hey,
there it is. Hey, hey, get it, get it, get it, get it, get it.
I'll just be dumb.
I
I'll be your
am,
backup dancer. Get it, Lisa.
there you go. Give me a little shamalama ding dongs and around and around. I am Lisa Borzada. I am the Associate Director for Rules Scoring and Education for YCADA. And I am joined once again by the ever fabulous, always keeping it classy and exciting, Katey Choate. Katey Choate, say hi to the people out there in Youth There It Is land.
Hello, everybody. I am Katey Choate. I am the Senior Rules Director for YCADA. And I must say, I don't think anybody's ever called me classy. So that was, thank you, Lisa.
Classy and sassy. You're welcome.
That's more usually what
You're
I
my
get.
friend.
Usually
You're my
what I
friend.
get. I'm going to slightly apologize right now. I have a little bit of a raspy voice. I'm not sick. I just am talking too much on the daily right now. So I'm starting to lose my
What
voice, but
happens?
it's all good. I'm
Yeah,
happy to be here. So happy to be here.
awesome. Did you tell everybody you're the Senior Rules Director for YCADA?
I did. I did.
Oh, you did? Okay. All right.
I did.
Perfect. Well, we said it again. It bears repeating because today's episode is all about the rules. Rules is rules. And
Yeah.
so we're getting down into it today. We are going to talk about all of those things. But before we do that, we thought we'd introduce a little segment called our weekly updates, kind of give you all an idea into what it's like here for us in the big, wide, and wonderful world of cheer. And while we say youth cheer, and this podcast is definitely about youth cheer, we don't just stick in the youth waters. We kind of dip our feet all over the place. And so hang on one second. Let me just look at my brand new youth. There it is, little note card, cute card here to see what we're going to talk about. Look how cute that is. Look how cute that is. Oh my gosh. So what did you have going on this past week? What were some of the things you were involved in cheer wise?
Oh, gosh. Okay. So I would say the biggest thing that I was involved with is we had Monterey Bay Clinic over in Monterey Bay. It was specifically in Salinas. And
Nice.
I love going over there. I love everybody, the coaches, everything. It's always such a fun time over there. Not only is it a fun time, but it's a way better weather than where I live. So
Better
it's
weather. It's
beautiful over
better weather.
there. It's better weather. And I thankfully and uh, excuse me, I am thankful that I was able to bring my family with me. So I worked the clinic and then for the
Ooh.
rest of the weekend had a mini little family vacation. So that was
Mini
really, really nice.
vacay. Hey, hey.
Yeah.
Love it.
Monterey Bay and Pacific Grove is one of the most beautiful places in California. So I was thrilled to be there. But the clinic itself was ran beautifully. I had Jam staff as my demos who are the pros in the
Love it.
industry. I love them dearly.
Pros.
They make my job easy, right? Like shout out to Jam staff. And then
Down
but it was
south.
also it's a stunt and a dance clinic. And I don't really get to
Wow.
do I don't get to do dance clinics that much. Normally, and I would say maybe even on East Coast too, you can chime in. It is normally cheer. We're going over cheer and
Yeah.
stunts and tumbling. So to have a segment for dance was really refreshing. This particular clinic, Monterey Bay, they are fantastic dancers. They have fantastic technical
Oh,
coaches.
that's great.
So it was really nice to do that. And it's really nice to see that. And then Jam staff, even the dancers got to utilize their unbelievable dance skills. So that's what I've
Yes.
been doing.
Yes.
Yes. And then on top of that, you and I'll let you talk about it too. We did our Facebook Lives. We did our Facebook Lives. Yes. Yeah.
Yes.
Go for it. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So that was a big part of our week, right? We like to kick off the season officially before a lot of the leagues start with their practices and whatnot. And so on Facebook, in the YCADA coaches Facebook group, Katey and I do a bunch of different sessions on Facebook Live where we kind of go over all of the rules for each level. We talk about rules and scoring. We do dance, we do sideline performance because we do have some leagues that offer sideline performance. And it's great because while we don't have the opportunity to kind of be in a Zoom environment with everybody because it's just too many people are kind of chiming in, we do have that live chat option, right? And so the coaches can kind of go in on the live chat and ask questions while we're in the subject that we're in. so that we can kind of address those things as they get prepared. And I think that they really like it. It kind of gets everybody energetic and really in
Right.
momentum and motion to start the season. Any little helpful tips that we can provide for them, I think also is very good. It allows them to kind of jump in with the new things, talk about some of the old things, because we talk about frequent deductions and we talk about scoring things. We talk about new rules, even though there wasn't a ton of changes. There are still a lot of things I know we see that are not really being interpreted correctly. We want to do that. I just want you to know I'm sitting on my hands. I'm trying so hard not to talk with my hands because I know, see, like I just did right there, that I tend to talk with my hands way too much. And looking back at the first couple of episodes, I don't know if I thought I was a magician. So I'm sitting on my hands a little bit. They may pop up at some point, but I don't even know if I can carry on a conversation without them.
It's
So
hard.
I definitely didn't work on talking without my hands in last week. But the other thing, cool thing I did, I got to travel to, there you go, the USASF conference in Nashville, Tennessee. And originally I was like, okay, I am involved a teensy bit on the jam side because of all of the staffing for the judges and everything that I do as a little side hustle. And I was like, okay, I'll talk to some all-star coaches and I'll see, event producers that I know and people that I know. But I was really pleasantly surprised that there were all types of cheer coaches there. I interacted with school teams. Here comes the hands. I interacted with travel cheer teams. I interacted with youth coaches, which was great. And, you know, they many familiar with YCADA, some who are not, some around the country still kind of learning what it is, what we do, and all of that. Got to see a lot of old friends in event producers and choreographers that were there. And so it was really, wasn't what I expected. It was way better than I expected because I was there kind of as like a representative for Jams and kind of talking to them about all the things that we offer. But Jams also offers all of these markets for their nationals and their championships. So that was really kind of fun and may have, gone out and enjoyed a little of the all that Nashville has to offer. No cowboy boots were worn, but got to walk around on Broadway. I know I did a little. Yeah, I might have done a little skip to Malou in the streets. So it was really fun and like I said, unexpected for sure, for sure.
Cool.
And that's usually a
Yeah,
place
that's
for you, right? Don't you do a Nashville visit from time to time? You
I go to Texas every
Nashville or
year. I go to
Texas?
Texas every year, but
Texas.
we did
Yeah.
do Nashville. We did Nashville in conjunction with Texas. We always try to hit 2 places at once. It's a little vacation I like to take you guys.
Sure.
And, we did Texas one year, and it was a
Love
blast.
it.
We had so much fun. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Wait a second, you get vacation? What is this vacation that you
Well,
speak of?
I mean, you take your laptop with you and all your
Right.
friends sleep in,
Technically,
and you wake up at 5 in the morning and get it done
right.
before they wake up at, like,
Yeah,
9:30. So, yeah, that's vacation.
yeah. And then you go out and you hoot and holler a little bit. Yeah, yeah.
Yes. Hey,
Okay.
we do
I
really
just thought
have the
perhaps there was
ability
some.
yeah, we
Yeah.
have the ability to truly be move around the United States and still work. We are very
Mhm.
lucky. We are. We're very lucky. Yeah.
Yes, agreed, agreed. With even with all of the things and everyone will kinda learn a little bit more about all of the things you and I personally do outside of just these types of things and social media and whatnot. But speaking of social media, if you haven't followed yet, Katie is Rhinestones and Rules. She is now on all platforms. And I am the Score Lab, LAB for Lisa Amborzata. Very clever of me, I know. And we are kind of, starting that off. Katie's killing it. She does a really great job of breaking down some videos with rules and what's legal for YCADA and also what might be legal for travel cheer. So those are definitely things that you want to check out. I'm getting a little bit of a slower start. I'm trying to find my stride, and I was really excited about getting this started on the podcast, but I'll be doing some more things about scoring and that type of thing as we go along. So we're gonna jump in to this week's episode. And I hold on one second. I'm just gonna get my Little note cards here again. I covered that. So we're good. So I'm going to be more of the interviewer today, although you know me, I'm going to chime in because I just can't help myself. But we're going to really dive in on rules, and not like we normally do the Facebook Live sessions where we kind of just go through and this is legal and this is and da da da. But Katie and I thought we'd put a little spin on it and kind of go through the whole process, how we start early, while the previous season is still going on, how we all get started, and then all the way up and through, and then some helpful tips as we go through each level and general safety on things you should be aware of. And Katie is phenomenal on finding those little nuances, the little read between the lines or utilizing what the written word is to kind of help you get creative. So let's start first with the rules process. Talk to everybody a little bit about how we do what we do here at YCADA when it comes to evaluating and updating and all that stuff.
Okay, so the moment we release a packet, the moment we release it, I am already looking and ready to move forward with the next year, with the very next year. So we have taken time, hours, weeks to construct this. So let's say 2026, 2027, this packet right now. We've already constructed it. We released it. Yay. We love it. We're so excited to see all of you adapt to it and get creative to it. But on our side, we're already going, great. I love this. But what's next? What is next? Yes.
Yeah, we pick it apart. Then we pick it apart. Yeah.
Yeah, so we're already looking at that. What's next? And the moment you start sending in rules questions, the moment you start competing across the United States, wherever you are, the moment I talk to coordinators, the moment that Lisa talks to coordinators, we're listening and we're watching. I will say, I feel like we're in a very good place. If you caught a little
Me
earlier what
too.
Lisa said, we didn't make too many changes this year because the previous year needed an overhaul. We needed to do it, an overhaul. And it went really well. So now I feel like we're at the point of just adapting to the ever evolving sport of cheerleading. Cheerleading will forever evolve. And that's what makes this one of the most beautiful sports. And so that's what we do. We watch for the evolution of cheerleading, that
Yeah.
not necessarily the degree of difficulty is getting harder, because it is, but not necessarily that in point. We're just looking for what will keep you guys safe and progressing to keep up with this industry. So
Yeah.
going into this year already, I personally haven't seen anything yet, I will say, that needs to be addressed. Yay, that makes me really happy. But come competition, I will go, oh, why can't they do that in a
Yeah.
particular level? Why? Different skills, different trends. Trends are huge, especially with social media. So there will be things that, why can't the youth industry do this while it's still safe? And so that's when we look at our verbiage and we start to highlight. I have my own PDF that is on my computer 24/7 that is highlighted, notes, script. I mean, it's full of crazy colors. And then additionally, which I have with me today, I have my own binder that I keep. It's just a good old white binder of the packet from each year. And I make notes in that too. And by the time we get to, I would say, nearly national season, right at December, all the way into
Yeah.
February is a little late, but Lisa and I are going back and forth. Did you see this? How about this? I noticed this verbiage might also tap into this. So we highlight, note, all over the place. And then January, we're telling each other, schedule this day, schedule this day, schedule this day. We need to do our
Clear the
revisions to the
calendar.
packet. Yes,
Right.
nothing else. I'm not kidding. And if we continue this podcast, you guys will see me in my robe, my hair's lopsided, and all we do
Oh, yeah.
is rules changes. That's it. Scoring changes or discuss. And we get it done within 1 week. We send it off to our tech team and they do all the edits. They send it back. We review it. Okay, we missed this. This doesn't work now. We have to do this. We send it. They send it back. Draft 2. Same thing. Boom, boom, boom. Until every word is proofread and we agree with everything, then we get other rules people on board to to check it out. We get their opinions, and then finally we publish it. So it is a year's process, a
Yeah.
whole year's. Yes, there's bulks that are more busy, but it is a year process in determining what needs to happen for the future of youth cheer. Yeah,
Yeah, I think you touched on something really important, right? We look at, let's say, something in the general safety and we say, okay, we need to make that change. So we do it. And then we go and go and go. And then we get to a certain level and we go, okay, that change that we made now affects this over here. So how do we, are we still, is this still what we want to do? Is this something we still think is safe? Okay, then how do we make an adjustment over here? And you may talk about some of those examples. So I don't want to spoil the plot here, and that happens a lot. Or, and I do want you to talk about progressions and a little bit of the difference between how we do it and maybe how USASF or some others might do it and what our progressions are. But a lot of times it is a lot of we do it here and then we find something, then we have to go back and say, okay, this needs to be adjusted because now this and this don't match up, don't align. So let's do that. What talk to me about the difference, right? We get this a lot. We get this a lot when people are talking about the comparison between youth YCADA and some of the other markets, the difference between how we are with progressions and levels and maybe some others are. And again, and no you know negativity to them, right? Everybody there everyone's found their kind of their place here and it kind of works, but we do things a little differently. So just talk about that a little bit.
we do. We do things differently. So if we're talking about all stars, they have up to 7 levels, right? And if we're talking about schools, it's levels 1 through 3 or beginner, intermediate, advanced. So they technically have 3 levels. Now, when we go into youth, it's 4. So every industry truly has their own set of standards developed for their industry, developed for their industry. So specifically for youth, we have to remember that we don't have 7 levels, nor do we expect level 6, 7 out of these athletes in youth. We have created 4 levels that does touch into, if you are familiar with level 5 in All Star, it does touch into level 5 with All Stars just a little bit. There are just some things, right? But for youth,
Right.
we completely understand that you do not have a full-time facility. You do not have tumbling equipment. Those things don't exist in youth. You're a community sport and we strongly support you in your community. So we have to develop levels that align with how many times do you get to practice? What are you practicing on? What surface? Is it
Yeah.
safe? And the age of youth in many places around the United States it doesn't go up to 18, right? So we have to think, what skills can these kids get while they're still a youth cheerleader? And our levels then align with that. We have
Yeah.
limited, if your league allows for it, we have level 1, 2, 3, and 4. And from there, we divided up all those skills that we know you can still perform safe within those levels. Yeah.
Yeah, I like that. And I think too, for us, I know both of us are huge on path of progressions, right? So
Yeah.
again, with USISF having the ability to kind of spread out, right? When we look at, let's say, inversions, right? Ground to ground, below prep level, extended level, that kind of is a nice path for us, right? Where with All Star, it's a little bit different. It goes from ground and then it goes to extended, which is always a kind of freaks us out a little bit. But we do
Yes.
really keep in mind the youth athletes that we're dealing with. And I think too, what's changed for us way back and probably even before you and I started, right? A lot of it was always about retention of athletes and also preparing them to go on to high school. All Star was coming up, but maybe not as prevalent, and was preparing them for high school. And so we wanted to try and keep with National Fed as much as possible. And then National Fed kind of went a little bit this way.
Mhm.
And we also saw the beginning of year-round youth teams, right? They no longer completed their football season, went to their nationals in November, December, and then disbanded. Now we're seeing teams that are staying together. And so we are trying to also help with the retention of your athletes, whether it goes to 16, whether you have an 18 in youth. And so we want to be able to provide enough in each level in order to help you, remain your athletes, excuse me, remain interested, right? Nothing more frustrating than working with athletes and they work hard and they get these skills and now you've got no place to put them because there's no level that allows the skill that they do. We'll talk about that in next week in the scoring episode about how those things correlate to scoring. But I think that's really, really important. So, all right, are you ready to break down the general safety rules?
Sure.
Break it down.
Yes.
Break it
I do
down.
want to
Break.
say one
Okay.
thing about rules. When I originally was asked to be the rules director, it blew my mind. I had no idea that anybody was looking at
Yeah.
me for that position, and it scared the holy heck out of me. I hope I'm able to say that. So I, at that time,
Sure.
was a
That's
full-time
good.
choreographer, and I was the person who pushed the rules, but I did it in a very kind manner. So I was friends with the rules judges. I was friends with the current rules director, all of that. And I liked to expand on the rules. And so now looking back, I understand why they they did choose me, but I want you all to
Sure.
take that approach to it as well. Don't be afraid of the rules. Don't be afraid of the rules. They're here as a standard. They're here to protect you and your athletes, but there's so much creativity that can be done in it. So while we're going over these things, I always tell coaches, read the bullet, but then read it again because there are little hints in there, and it's not even necessarily hints, but I like to say hints. There's little hints in there that'll help
Yeah.
you be able to do more, actually, instead of looking at it and going, "Well, this is all I can do." No, there's a lot there if you look for the verbiage, if you notice the verbiage.
Yeah.
And
I
so
also
hopefully
think
today I can kind of
it's
tap into that.
important to learn. Yeah. I also think it's important to learn. I'm sure you get a lot and we'll talk about the rules question form, but every once in a while someone will in my DMs or send me a text if we've got that kind of connect going on. Is this legal? And when I look at it for the level, I'm immediately going, absolutely not. And my first question is, what makes you think this is legal for level 1, 2, 3, 4? Because it's clearly not even anywhere close. Right. And so they're like, I don't know. We saw it on TikTok. We thought it was cool. We want to do it. Right. I think it's important for you also to understand, yeah, you can send everything in to us and Katie and the ninjas will review it and all that stuff. But you really have to get yourself educated on these things because you can really push even farther than just grabbing things off of TikTok. You really need to understand, right? So as you're making adjustments, as your routine goes on, you're kind of within the limits of what you're allowed to do. I think a lot of times we see a lot of things and I'm saying to myself, how are they thinking that this particular skill is legal in this particular level? And I think it's just because we saw it, we thought it was cute, the kids loved it, we put it in there, almost kind of sort of sounded like, and then not really understanding the glossary terms and all that. So I think it's important and all this that's coming at you right now, super important. So let's hit them with it.
Okay. All right. Let's hit them with it. Okay. So I'm going to be
All
going
right.
over nearly, or Lisa, do you want to introduce it?
Certainly. So we are going to start with the general safety rules. And again, different than what we normally do on the webinars. We're not reading through. That is something that when you have some time to go through this, I don't know, 80-page document, just in your free time, because we all got free time like that. But I think definitely general safety, then your level rules grid and your glossary are the three things you want to have when you're talking about and putting your stuff together. So general safety is going to be up first. What do you got to tell us about general safety?
Okay. General safety. I think you've all heard us say it, so I'm not going to use my hands. I'm going to go like this. All right. General safety. So you've heard us say it a million times before. You have to go to the general safety, and it's 100% true. I'm going to give you some clues of things that you'll find there that I get questions about all the time that are not going to be in your levels, like your level rules, right? Number one, you get an athlete that gets hurt, has a brace, has a cast, whatever it may be, that's going to be in the general safety. And it's right on that first page. So I feel like we're pretty clear about what an athlete can do with a soft cast, hard cast, wrap, metal, all of those things. That's where it is. General safety. I believe it's B. And still, after all these years, you guys, of writing this and creating it with Lisa, I still reference this packet on the daily. I have to go,
All the
okay, was
time.
it B? All the time. All the time. So open this sucker up and dive in. Dive in. I'm doing it daily, and we should know this by the back of our hand, which we do, but always check yourself. I'm the rules checker. I'm checking myself. So open it up, check it. Yes, it is B. If you,
Always.
every single coach has an athlete that gets hurt every year. And I'm getting 300 questions a year regarding braces. And to be honest with you, when I am replying back to those emails or in the question form, I am copy and pasting. So if you have a
Right.
question about braces, it's right there. And I can help you further if like you're unsure. Sometimes I need a photo of the brace and I can extra help you, but it's right there. Braces. When we go into talking about our back spots, that's all in the general safety. So yeah, in level 1,
Yeah.
you can do a prep level stunt, right? And we'll get to that
That's
in
an
a little
O.
bit. We can do a
That's
prep
an
level
O.
stunt. Well, thank you, Lisa. We can do a prep level stunt, but how do we need to do it is going to be talking about an O with our back spots. All prep level stunts or higher require a back spot. But then if you dive even deeper in that, there's a few little things that talk about exceptions. Yes. So just the back spot. We go into inversions. It talks about inversions in the general safety. This is a big one too. I'm seeing a lot of creative inversions for levels 1 through 4 that are doing inversions with only one base and one back spot. And I'm going to go into this as well because there is an exception, but it'll state in the general safety under inversions, it says that you need two bases or one back spot, two bases and one back spot, or two back spots and one base. Reason being there is we're giving the flexibility and the ability to be able to switch roles while you're doing an inversion. Because if you start twisting and you start going higher, depending on your level, you have to change roles at one point for many of these skills. So the only exception to the rule there, and it's in our general safety, is going to be a partner cartwheel inversion. The partner cartwheel inversion is legal for levels 1 through 4, one base, one flyer. Flyer gets picked up into a single cartwheel on the base's knees. They can wrap, they can hand, and then done. To the ground, flyer returns to the ground. There is no more cartwheel, all done. That's the only exception to that rule. But again, we're talking about how many athletes, how many bases, how many back spots, how many, where does the back spot need to be? You have to go to the general safety. You have to go to the general safety. Lisa, do you have anything you want to throw in?
Yeah.
I'm
And
just
I think
gathering my
it's
notes for it.
Yeah, I think the inversion part is important. We're starting to see a lot more of them. The other big one I think worth seeing is our Superman transitions, right? We're seeing those a lot more. And now that they're allowed in levels 1 through 4, we're seeing them. And again, how that scores is a totally different subject. But the inversion piece is important. And I think when we get into the level rules, I also want to just make a note for yourself. I want to talk about inversions and the origination of inversions. Remember, you and I had a conversation a couple weeks ago, right, where I had a choreographer sending me some videos. Is this a ground inversion for level 3? Is this an inversion? Remember, and none of it was originating from the floor. So I want to talk about that a little bit, right? Because I do think that gets a little confusing. When we talk about everyone starts on the ground, right? So, how that differentiates. But I think it's important on the inversions with the two bases and one spotter or one base and two spotters to remember always this is about safety. And the safety of the flyer is paramount. And there always needs to be somebody in a position to protect the head, neck, and shoulders. That's the role of the back spotter, right? And in inversions, as Katey said, a lot of times those roles change, but somebody's always got to be like, I got head, neck, and shoulders. And that person needs to be in a position that they can do it. And so in certain different types of inversions, you always want to make sure that you've got that person. I have been talking about in clinics when you start getting into level 2 through 4 and the inversions and all of the twisting, maybe we start thinking about back to groups of 5, right? So that you've always got a front and a back. And when there is that twisting and stuff, you've got that personnel there rather than having to kind of have everybody switch and run around. And we always get asked the question about what do we do with extra athletes? This might be an opportunity to utilize those athletes. So, I just think that you really have to pay attention. And when you're working on these things, you need to send it in on the rules question form
Yeah.
without a doubt. Without a doubt.
Yeah.
You have any others in the general safety?
I do. Yes. Yes. So
Yeah. Okay.
my
Okay.
other
I'm
thing
gonna
was
let you do them
just
then.
when you're looking at all your levels, you obviously have to go to the general safety. Tap into tumbling. Tap into stunts. Stunts is bulked up between dismounts, pyramid, inversions. It's right there. So the other two really big things that I always want you to really, really go to tumbling in general safety, because right there in tumbling, it talks about rebounding into stunts, rebounding into stunts. This seems to be a very frequent question that comes through because I truly believe that
Yes.
people are expecting that to be in the level grids, that into the level grids. Tumbling, it goes over all sorts of stuff, not just rebounding into a stunt, but it goes into rebounding. So it talks about when you going into a stunt, when it needs to be a group stunt, all those types of manners. So referencing the general safety is going to be really important, not just for stunts, but it's also going to be really important for tumbling. Then you move on into tumbling and talks about flips to 3/4, all that kind of stuff. But my last thing I want to talk about is single base stunts. Single base stunts. They are
Oh
hot, they
yeah.
are heavy, they are all the rage in nearly every single level. Okay. And
Oh
I
yeah.
get it. Yeah, go for it. Power to you. But you want to know what your back spot can and can't do when they are in a single base stunt? Because you have to have a back spot at a prep level and above, single base stunt, right? Then this
You
right
do.
here it's still an O, but it's going to be number 8 and below. Number 8 and below. So that's where you're going to reference single base stunts. Yes, O talks about all of your back spotter's requirements, but you go down a little bit to number 8 and below, that is specifically for single based stunts. So, like I said, prep level and above, we require a back spot for single base stunts.
Yes.
Now, this is a big one that comes through. We go waist level, people are always asking me, for my single base stunt, do I need a back spot? No, you don't. You do not. Okay. So it's prep level and above. So just keep that in mind. Now, one of the other big things, because we love being creative with our single base stunts, when you're at prep level in a single base stunt, my back spot and my base cannot change roles. Cannot change roles. But if you
Yes.
are below prep level, you can. So use that as a transition. You need to switch roles, pop it down real quick to a below prep level. You can change those roles and get right back up to where you need to be. So just throwing that out there. Um, uh,
Yeah.
Dive into the general safety. Don't forget it. Don't sleep on it. Do not sleep on it.
I got single base stuff. Can I talk about single base stuff real fast?
Yeah, go
Okay,
for it.
cool. I think what's important, and if you when we talk about bases and spotters, right? When we talk about base and the definition, and you want to really dive into the glossary, we consider a base anybody that is providing primary support or bearing primary weight, right? And so when you're working in these single based stunts, you always want to make sure that the spotter is not providing primary support, right? So, and the idea behind it is that if something should happen with that athlete, if the flyer starts to go, the spotter is in a position that if they leave the stunt in essence could remain without the spotter, right? Because they're not providing primary support. They're like a secondary. Now, we see it all the time. We know sometimes there are situations we look at a stunt and say, there's no way that's staying up without that spotter. And, they're probably supporting a little bit more, but we're not looking to kind of, take those deductions or anything like that. Right.
Yeah.
When a flyer is leaning back, right? Leaning back, one was bent knees and the back spot is like, you can see is kind of holding up. Then we start getting a little engaged. I say, right, legality team activated, right? We're like in there and now we're checking it out, which also might be more on the warning side. And that's always a great thing about teaching proper technique, especially with your younger flyers, about learning to stand up and over their bases. And so now when you're talking about single base, it's even more important that they're standing up. And that spotter is there, again, can have that one hand under, one hand on the standing leg grip, can be behind, both on the ankles, right? We're seeing it a lot in levels 1 and 2 because at prep level. I would imagine at some point we're going to start seeing more extended because that's just what our coaches do. They take the challenge, right? Right.
Yep, I'm seeing that. It's
I
happening
also
this
want to
year.
say,
Yes.
yeah,
Mhm.
exactly, right? And again, we can talk about that scoring wise and the expectation there, but I really need everybody to lock in on understanding that this is truly about the safety of the flyer in these situations when we talk about the spotter. So you can get creative in the single base and that scores well and that type of stuff. But the primary role is to protect head, neck, and shoulders. So we just don't want to forget that. And
Yep. I
that's all
love it. I
I
love it.
gotta say
I love
about
it.
that. Yeah.
Okay. Want
All right.
to
You
go to
ready to
limited?
dive into levels?
Yeah. Yes.
I do wanna go to limited. I just wanna say one more thing. Anything that you can do group based, you can do single based. Is that correct, Katie? Anything you
That
can
is
do in group
correct.
based, you
That
can
was
do
actually
single
one of
based.
my things.
Yes.
Yes. Oh, go
Oh,
ahead.
did I
Go
take your
if you want to
thing?
talk.
Hold on, let me look at my note card. I might have taken your thing. Let me yeah, I'm sorry I took your thing. I didn't mean to take your thing.
No, I'm
I
really
apologize.
happy that you said this going in to the levels. Uh, when we're diving in, I'm not just talking about limited right now. I'm talking about limited, level 1, level 2, level 3, level 4. Where what it says you can do as a stunt, you can do as a single base stunt. So we're not saying this is only a group stunt, this is only a single base stunt. You can do all of this as long as you follow the general safety, right? So go for it.
Yeah.
Be creative if you want to. If anything is very specific in how
Yes.
you have to do it for the level, it's going to be in the level rules. It's going to be in the level rules. So if for some reason you couldn't do a
Yeah.
single base, it would be there. It would be there. Yeah. Yes. I love that. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
and I don't
Limited.
wanna talk about
Okay.
scoring. I don't wanna talk about scoring at all. Yeah, hang on, I don't wanna talk about scoring at all, but I know that, you can and you know my rap, just because you can doesn't mean you should, right? So, a lot of these things, it may be pushing past what your team is ready for, right? So, don't feel like yeah, in certain levels, certain times, single base stunts will score a little bit higher, but, you also wanna make sure that it's being done safely. So, just worry about not pushing if they're not ready for it. And level 1 limited, away we go. Level 1 limited.
Okay. Okay. So I'm going to try to give you a few things that I see that are common questions that should help, but also trying to give you some of those hints of like, hey, check this word out. Let's decipher this. So for level 1 limited in tumbling, I'm going to go to that last bullet. It talks about ground up bridges. Ground up bridges. Now, and there's a
Take it to
parentheses
the
that says
bridge. Right.
into the bridge, it talks about you have to return back to the laying/ground position. I'm going to reverse that. I believe it says ground/laying position. Now, I believe that everyone's
Correct.
just flowing through it really quickly and reading that last part and it says laying. So everyone thinks I've got to slide down to a laying position. But slash is and or. So it has to return back to the ground. So this could be in a nugget position. This could be in I've seen girls roll to their side and hit on the ground, cute little poses and do little kicks, things like that.
You.
It can go back to the laying position, absolutely, but it could get really creative. You could do your ground up bridge while they're still connected to the ground, half twist to a nugget, and then do a stunt. So we're utilizing all these factors to get more creative. Don't just think I have to slide down on my heels and I go to laying position. Check out the word before. It says ground. Now, if they go back to the ground level, what cute position can we add in there? What can we teach them? So little words like that Take them and run with them. Another one is going to be for stunts. It says that single legs can go to knee stand height. Knee stand height. It doesn't just say knee stand. That's not the only thing you can do. Knee stand height, knee stand level. So any stunt that goes to the knee stand level is legal for a single leg, okay? Now, when I'm looking at it as a rules judge, say you have a back spot, and some of these you guys do if they're stunting on the base's back, but I am looking at who potentially is standing up. Who is standing up? And I look at their knee level. Their knee level. That's what I'm looking at. Knee stand level. So hint, hint, use your tallest girl to be the standing athlete in the stunt group, right? Because then you can go a little bit higher. Little bit higher. If you have shorty like me being the back spot, you're probably going to be illegal really quickly because my knees go up about 12 inches off the ground. So keep that in mind. When we're looking at knee stand level, if you have someone standing, that's the knee stand level that I'm looking at. I'm looking at her knee. Where is it? We cannot do, he or she, we cannot do a single leg above that level. I always tell coaches that. You can be creative. I've seen girls sit crisscross applesauce and they use their shortest athlete and they put the single leg right here on their shoulder. And then their back spot is a little bit taller and it's knee stand level. So she's sitting on the ground and the flyer's on the shoulder hitting a single leg, but it's still knee stand level. Use your athlete's heights to your advantage. Obviously, it says unlimited, you can't do any tosses. So when we're talking about tosses, we're talking about a basket grip. This will go into other things too. A basket grip or a sponge. So tosses are a basket grip or a sponge. No go for limited. Absolutely not, right? No go for limited. Inversions are a no go. Release moves are a no go. All right. Okay. So when it says they're not allowed, you probably shouldn't get creative with them because they're not allowed.
Nope.
All right.
No, you should
Then
not. No, 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 you shouldn't. You should not.
yeah, don't try to get creative with the things that are stated in front of you. That's what you want to look for. The other thing I want to talk about for limited, I tried to pick out, sorry, I'm going to kind of detour. I tried to pick out 3 things that I thought were really important, but for limited, I am going to tap into 4. But so I apologize that limited gets a little extra attention, but you'll understand why in just a second. So for pyramids this year, if you did not watch our lives, and again, this is for 2026, that's when this
What do you mean they
is
didn't watch
airing.
our lives?
I know. What are you guys doing with your lives? Come on.
Who the heck didn't watch our
Come on.
lives?
Yeah. If you didn't watch our lives, go watch our lives because you're going to get even more information specifically to rules and scoring. But if you didn't, for any reason, and you're just hopping in this and learning about rules, only for limited, you can make a pyramid with an athlete that is standing on the ground. That is not for any other level, okay? So if you hit a prep stunt, a double-based, double leg prep stunt, okay? Let's say that's what you're doing. Then you can make that contact down to the person on the ground, standing hand, boom, boom, and it is now a pyramid. We state this multiple times, not only in the rules, we reference it, we talk about it, but that's a big one this year. And so I just really wanted you guys to know that. We know that limited teams sometimes are extremely small, and that these are your new babies that are just tapping into cheerleading. Some of you only have 5. So how do you make a pyramid with 5, right? This is allowing you to do so. Okay, I'm going to blow everybody's mind. And Lisa will be like, preach it, girl. Shoulder sits do not require a back spot in any level. Not just talking about limited, but think about it. If limited is allowed to do a shoulder sit without a back spot, then level 1, 2, 3, and 4, you're good to go. So shoulder sits in limited and all the rest of the levels, you do not need a back spot. Why? It's a below prep level stunt. You don't need it. How do you feel about that, Lisa? How do you feel about that?
I I am invigorated because that is probably still one of the most frequently asked questions that we get, right? And look,
Yep.
I love that all of the coaches are being diligent, but again, I feel like we're not understanding what we're talking about just because the flyer is sitting on the shoulders, right? And when we talk about stunt height levels, a lot of times when we're coming when we get off the ground and we're talking about waist level or prep level, we're looking at the flyer's hips, right? For a lot of things, for the twisting rotation and things like that. And so the height of the flyer's hips on a shoulder sit is right here at shoulder height, which would be considered a below prep level skill, right? And so the back spotter is not required there. I think it does definitely help for smaller teams, right? Also, remember you could do, a knee stand, let's say a traditional knee stand with somebody standing on there and have them act as a bracer. That could be something. But I think that now allowing the bracer to be somebody on the ground is huge for limited. We changed the definition of pyramid last year, not realizing that probably everyone didn't get the memo. We didn't get the word out there enough. And we saw too many teams that were, not doing it correctly, not scoring well. So we figured like this was a thing. I want to add a
Mhm.
couple of things in if you don't mind. Did you get your fours? Did you
Yeah,
get your four in?
I did. Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
The one-armed cartwheel, the one-armed bandit,
Mm.
illegal in level 1 limited, okay? That is something and even scoring-wise, it's not really a big differentiator, but we do take deductions for one-armed cartwheels, and I
Yes.
know you all have your athletes out there, right? We'll call our who should we call the athlete that's misbehaving? What should that name be? We'll call them Tiffany.
Tammy.
Call them Tiffany.
Oh, we love it,
Tammy. Yes,
please.
both did tease.
Okay.
So Tammy likes to go rogue from time to time, and she's like, "Imma bust out this one-arm cartwheel right here because I can, because it's my world and everyone else is just a squirrel trying to get a nut," right? And so you have to even the little babies, because sometimes they totally have minds of their own, you have to let them know they cannot do one-armed cartwheels, okay? It's
Mhm.
like it's so I cringe. I cringe when I'm up on a panel and some little cutie pie, Tammy, Tiffany, Tatiana, whatever it is, they go and bust out that one-arm cartwheel, and I'm like, "Oh, no. Tati, why? Tati, why?" But it is unfortunately illegal for level 1 limited. So you have to go with them over and over again to remind them that a lot of things that they do, the legality part, the rules part factors into the routine too. And the other one is we're still seeing. Did you have something on that?
Yeah, you tapped into something that I think is very important that gets neglected in our industry. As a coach, include your kids on the rules. Let them know what the rules are. If you're just teaching them and
Yeah,
showing them, we go here, we go here, we go here. I've seen it plenty times before where the kids change it out there. They change it out there and think, well, why don't we do this? It'd be so much fun.
yeah,
So in all ages, so include them on the rules. All right, you guys, we're level 2. We can do prep level lib. Now, but we can do extensions when we have our double legs. So they know they cannot take that single leg any higher for a
correct.
freestanding stunt.
Yeah,
Yeah. In tumbling, like Lisa said, you're
yeah,
limited. If you're choreographing these cartwheels, tell them these have to be two hand. Nobody lift up a single. Yeah. Yeah.
all the time.
And they come backstage and then they end up saying, "Oh my gosh, she changed it out there. I don't know why she changed it." And our hearts break for them. Include your kids in the rules. Let them know. Okay, go, Lisa, go.
Yes. Also remind Tammy, back to going to general safety. Remember on your entrances and exits, there's no tumbling, right? So Tammy, Tiffany, Tatiana, Teresa, they're like, my grandparents are here today. I want to be a shining light. And they decide, gonna just run my little cartwheel right at the very end as I sashay off the floor, right? No, 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 no. That's those are the things when you're talking about choreographing. It's not just the 2 minutes or the 2 minutes and 30 seconds that you're on the floor. It's how they enter and how they get off because we're looking at that too. So you want to make sure all of that stuff is within the rules as well. So I digressed a little bit, but now I'm back. And the other
Okay.
one I wanted to talk about in level 1 limited, we're still seeing some movement. We're still seeing some stunts that are moving and turning. We're still seeing some flyers that are quarter twisting, if you will. They may be standing on the back of a base. I think this is what happens. Correct me if I'm wrong or see if you agree. Sometimes the little ones are a little bit delayed in processing, so they're always maybe a few counts behind, and so they are, and they're in their stunt, and it's just now dawning on them that they now have to go that way next, and they've gotta run that way next. So when they go to get down from the stunt, they go, "I gotta go," and they're still up on the flyer on the base's back, and so that could be looked at as a quarter twist or some kinda twist or turn. So I recommend to coaches, you really want to choreograph going up straight, coming down straight, maybe a clean and a motion or something like that, maybe a couple of counts there, and then let them move so they're not anticipating. That happens a lot. The athlete is anticipating what's coming next, and they're like, got a road runner, got to get there. And so they start to kind of boom over there so that this way they're not getting to their, not being late getting to their spot. So yes, so we just really want to make sure that in level 1 limited, the stunts are not moving, they're not turning, there's no twisting. Those stunts need to come up and down. They can move this way, right? Let's say from phi level to prep level, right? And maybe down into like a V sit and those types of things, but it can't rotate at all. The whole entire stunt can't move this way or that way, and the athlete can't twist. So those are things I think that's probably another one of the things we take a lot of deductions for on those stunts moving and turning. So that's all I got about limited. You got anything else?
No, I mean, that's probably one of the biggest ones, like you're saying, that we take a deduction for.
Yeah.
Just remember when we're talking about twisting, we are talking about the flyer's hips. And I always use the beautiful Shakira. The hips don't lie. So even when they're stepping off, if those go a
Ole, ole,
quarter,
ole, ole. Sorry.
okay. When we talk about those
She was
hips,
just here. She was just here at the MetLife at the World Cup at the halftime, which is just a short hop, skip, and a jump from where I am right now. Yeah, she did
oh,
it. She
oh,
did
that'd
it
be
all.
so fun. That'd be
Sorry.
so fun to see her. So
Yeah.
watch the flyer's hips. Like Lisa said, stepping off. If they're twisting at all, those hips have to stay straight. They cannot twist. So just watch for it. All right, level 1. Want to do level 1?
Here we go. Whoop,
Let's do it
whoop.
level
I'm
1.
moving this over here.
I'm going to go
Let's
straight
do it.
into
Do
stunts.
it, do it.
The biggest thing
Do it,
right
do it.
now that I'm seeing questions coming through, what you see in stunts, you can then, so like it says twisting, you can quarter twist or 1/4 twist, whatever, however you want to reference this is totally fine. You can quarter twist, fourth twist in all that is mentioned there, including a Superman. All right. Mind you, a Superman.
What?
What? Lands in prone
What?
position. Okay. That question comes through a lot for all levels. They'll send me, is this Superman legal? And it's of a stunt transition landing in cradle position. That's not a Superman. That's not a Superman. Superman always lands prone position with the back spot remaining on the ankles and giving it that little tug, right? And the bases are catching the chest. So when we're talking about Supermans here, yes, they can quarter twist along with single base stunts, along with, obviously, as it says in the rules book, your extension preps, right? Along with prep level single leg stunts that have the hand arm contact to someone on the ground. Those can quarter twist too. Now, here's the other thing. Everybody wants to do a switch up. Everybody wants to do a release move of some sort, a TikTok, right? Not just popular on social media, it's popular in cheerleading too. So, how do we do those?
Oh yeah.
Level 1 can do them. They just can't be released. And when I talk about that, I'm not talking about the back spot staying in contact with ankle. If you have that hand arm contact between flyer and say the back spot, I'm going to use the back spot. That's the contact right there. The bases can then release and catch because you have the contact. So yes, there are ways to do TikToks, switch ups, whatever it may be. Even when the flyer is at a waist level single leg, let's say arabesque, on her base, and she's got her hands on the base's shoulders, and it's just base and flyer. They can dip and switch arabesque because the flyer is still in contact with the base, making it a non-release. Too many times we're looking at, do the ankles have contact to the flyer's ankles? Are they okay? You guys, it can be truly any body part, right? Just a non-release style switch up, tick tock, ball up, anything that fancies you. Yeah, just don't let it
Ooh.
free release, and you can find lots of avenues to make your stunts even more creative. So if we wanted to do a single leg prep level stunt with the back spot still, and we wanted it to be a single base stunt, we got our back spot, she's got the hand, you wanted to quarter twist it and switch up all at the same time, you're legal for level 1. You're good to go for level 1. That's a lot going on. But
It's a
yeah,
lot. It's
yeah,
a lot.
it's a lot. But do you see how the door opens when you really dive into the rules? You can do a lot.
Yeah.
Let's see. The
Yeah.
other ground level inversion. Let's go into inversions. Ground level inversion to ground level. What are we talking about here? Because this is really when we start to do inversions. Essentially, those of you that are like, what is an inversion? Essentially, it's when the flyer is upside down. Okay. So the flyer is upside down. Now, level 1, it says ground level inversion. So that means the inversion has to start at ground level, not the flyer standing up like me on ground level. No, the inversion has to be in contact with the ground. Best and easiest way to describe this is a handstand. It's a handstand. Yeah. So the flyer's in a handstand. She's in an inverted position, touching the ground, making it ground level. In this case, for level 1, you can go to then ground level. Notice. This makes me nervous to say, but notice we don't say that it has to remain in contact with the ground. Okay. We say it just has to return back to the ground. No, it cannot go up to prep level and then come back down to the ground. No, it has to stay in that motion, but the flyer does not need to stay in contact with the ground after the inversion to returning to the ground level. That's a big deal. And I've only seen a few teams really utilize that for creativity wise. Um, can you stay in contact with the ground? Absolutely. Absolutely. Do you have to? Not necessarily. No, you don't. Just don't take it into a higher stunt level because it's not truly, if she's upright and she's at prep level, she's at waist level, that's when it's going to get tricky. You have to take it right down to that ground level, right down to that ground level. That's a big one. A little nervous to say that. Lisa, do you have something to say? Yes. Yes, yes.
I do. I think so. I think it's important. This is very exciting. I think it's important for everybody to understand what the YCADA definition of inverted is, right? Which is when both feet are over the hips that are over the shoulders head, right? And so then it's also important to remember that once you break that plane, right? I think this kind of lends into what you're talking about. The flyer's no longer inverted, right? And so I think that also plays a role in it as well. So it doesn't have to be handstand and we have to tap those feet down to the ground. There is a lot of space between what we consider load in or sponge and the ground that would be considered ground level. So you do have a lot of opportunity. And again, when we introduced this, I think 2 years ago, and because trying to get it in the minds of coaches, we definitely showed examples of handstand down to the ground
Mhm.
and then up to something else, right? Because that's always the best way to kind of get a coach's brain around it to understand. But again, our our inversion isn't this, our inversion is this. So once that gets broken, that's no longer an inversion, right? That's no longer an inversion. That's no longer an inversion. And so I think that will allow you to do more creative things, still doing it legally.
Yeah. Yeah. And going
Yeah.
into inversions, this will translate into all levels as well. What you could
Yeah.
do in the stunt for twisting, you can do in inversions too. So if you want this
Yeah.
inversion, this ground level inversion to ground level quarter twist for level 1, absolutely. Absolutely. Yes. And that you'll see that as well through the other levels as we talk about it and such. All right. So then we go into, we have our dismounts, we have our release moves, and our tosses. Now, still, we cannot do tosses in level 1. Can't do them. So no, 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 no. That comes through a lot. It says it right there, you guys. Can't do any tosses. Again,
Ooh,
that's from a
ooh.
basket or a sponge. Yes, go for it.
I got one more thing about inversions.
Okay.
And I'm hoping I'm not stealing your thunder. I am seeing, and I think you are too, I am seeing not only in level 1, but in level 2 as well. We could talk about that. I am seeing teams that want to forward roll out of that Superman in
Yeah.
level 1
Hmm.
with
Yeah.
both feet still. Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so this is like for level 1 and we'll say level 2. We'll say level 1 and level 2. Everybody wants to do the Supermans. They love the
Mhm.
Supermans. It's a quick transition to, it's not a dismount per YCADA, but it's a quick transition to get lower to the ground to be done with the stunt. So in level 1
Yep.
and level 2, you cannot forward roll from a prone position, aka a Superman transition. Okay. So what you can do for both level 1 and level 2 is you can put one foot down very quickly. The
Listen,
flyer's
listen up, listen up.
the flyer's foot touches the ground. Hint, hint. When the flyer is touching the ground in contact with the ground, it's not a stunt. It's not a stunt. Okay. So once that foot hits the ground, no longer a stunt, she can then forward roll. Doesn't mean the chest has to come completely up. She could still be in that prone position and that leg come down and forward roll from that because it's no longer a stunt. For level
Yep,
1 and level 2, you could front
yep.
walk over. You could front walk over in that position. So again, building the creativity, giving the progression where the progression can happen. Yeah, that's a good one, Lisa. Yep. Very, very, very good. Yep.
Yeah, and level 1, back walk over, also a no-go, but
Yeah.
put the foot down, now we're talking about something different.
Yep. So Lisa's referencing out of a cradle position, out of a cradle, and this will be specifically for level 1.
Yeah,
You want to back walk over out of that? Sure.
correct.
If you put the foot down, the flyer's foot down, she could back walk over from that, and then she could do another back walk over on her own. So then you're getting some tumbling credit, right? Yeah.
Yeah,
Because assisted, that first one is an assisted back walkover. We like assisted back walkovers. They're fun to do. No credit, so make sure then you're getting credit afterwards. That's my choreographer brain just popping in. Yeah. The only other
there you
thing
go.
really for level 1 is kind of going back up to stunts, but putting it into pyramids. Okay. So we talked about, yes, you can do those switch ups. Yes, you can do those release moves if you have that hand arm contact, right? Because it's a non release in stunts. But when we trickle over to pyramids, we still cannot let that be released. I see too many times that people have the bracer. So now we're talking about 2 flyers in a stunt. You got your bracer and you've got your flyer that's going to be performing the elite skills, right? And they do switch ups fully released from the basing group. And they think it's okay because they have a bracer. Nope, not okay. Not okay. So if you're wanting to do those skills, you're going to have to make sure one person in the stunt group stays connected to the flyer. If you're wanting to be the back spot by hand arm again, that's fine. If you want the back spot to do ankle to ankle, that's fine. So the only braced release moves that you can do in level 1 are going to be braced release move to cradle position. Cradle, we know cradle position. Boom, I'm a base. Flyers in that face up pike position. So just be aware of that. Just be very aware of that. Yes. Okay. So those are my big things that I'm seeing
Yeah,
now.
I think
I'm sure more will come. Maybe mid-year we can go, hey, these are coming in. Let's talk about this. But these are the
yeah.
things that are coming in now. Yeah. Yeah. Do you have anything?
I'm just gonna go in on that brace release, right? So if you all can if you all can remember this, we're talking about release moves. A release move means that the flyer is released from everybody on the performance surface, right? They have no contact with anyone on the floor in their stunt or without. When we talk about brace release moves, we're talking usually about pyramid connection, right? Meaning the flyer is braced by another flyer. Okay. So when we talk about braced releases, we're still talking about the flyer is fully released from everybody on the ground. Right. And I think that's important as we go along in the levels, because a lot of times we say, but she was braced. So it wasn't a release move, but it is a release move because a release move is something that releases from everybody on the performance surface. So I think that's really important. And we progress it here, right? With level 1, doing the brace release to cradle. Can you talk about, I've gotten this a few times just in conversation and at clinics, brace release to cradle from an extended position. I think it's
Oh,
kind of blowing people's minds that can be done, right?
yeah.
And can you kind of talk about that and why? maybe kind of tying into what I just said.
Okay, so when we're talking about pyramid braced release moves, like we said, you can go to cradle position, right? Now, that can be from a double leg extended stunt. That can be from a single leg at prep level. That can also, here we go. Mind you that this is saying braced release. You could do a toss, a sponge toss. So if you're wanting progression into level 2, she's braced. It's the perfect opportunity to start riding that straight ride, teaching your flyer how to straight ride. So any skill that you can do on for level 1 pyramids, you can land, release, braced in a cradle position. Yes, extended, double leg, sure, absolutely. You can do a braced release from there. So our base has got their hands all the way up, and they are essentially going to pop that flyer like a cradle. Yes. And then the bracer stays in contact the whole time, hand, arm, and they catch in cradle position. Perfectly legal for level 1. Perfectly legal. Yeah. Yep.
Oh, yeah. That part. Go back. Talk about the bracer staying in contact. That part.
Okay.
That part.
Okay.
When is it okay to let go?
Oh,
When is
okay.
it?
Anytime we're doing pyramids and you're doing transitions that require the bracer, right? Require the bracer. So like in this case, level 1, we're going extended double leg and we're going to dip, pop like a cradle, but the bracer stays in contact the whole time. I'm going to tell you my personal opinion. I'll tell you my legal thoughts. Okay. So personal opinion, when you are training this, that bracer does not let go until she is clearly in the hands and holding and being held, the flyer, in the hands of the bases for 2 counts. 2 counts. That's going to train your kids correctly. It's going to train them to support that flyer correctly, to lead that flyer correctly. And if something goes haywire on the floor, it's going to prevent them from letting go too early if you train them that way. Right? Now, legality wise,
Yeah.
once that flyer makes contact with those bases, it could be here in that cradle position. It could be here in the cradle position. It could be here in the cradle position. All depends on your technique. Okay. Once she's in those
Yeah.
hands of her bases, it's no longer a braced release move because now the bases have contact and they're supporting her. So technically, that is when that bracer could let go. Do I recommend it? Absolutely not. We want to lead that flyer into the correct body line and the correct placement. We want to make sure that the bases do have their flyer. So 2 seconds, 2 counts is always what I tell coaches. 2 counts. And it's cleaner. You're not just letting go
Yeah.
off at the same time. Yeah. Or at a different time. Sorry. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
See that all the time. I even do in clinic sometimes. I'm like, tell them when they are hitting a low V, like,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because if they hit a low V, then chances are they're in that touch zone, right?
Yep.
But a lot of times we see this, and is when it starts going up, then they let go, or they're here and they just release and drop down, right? And then we've got X's over our eyes because we're like, no, don't do it.
So even kind of going into that for level 1, we'll still stay in level 1. When they are going to hit those extensions, those double leg extensions, you better make sure that those girls, bracer and flyer, are
Oh yeah,
connected at prep
oh yeah,
level before they hit the extension. A lot of times I see them go all the way
yep.
up and then they connect.
Don't get cute with it.
No. Once you enter into extended
No.
height, you have to be connected. So make sure you're connected at prep level to ensure that you're connected at extended level for double leg extended stunts. Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
All right. I love
For
it.
sure.
All right.
All right.
Want to go on? Do
Are
you
you
have
ready
anything
for
else?
level 2?
Yeah. Level 2. Let's do it.
Okay. We've got to be honest. We were filming the rules episode and we had a little equipment malfunction and we filmed the whole entire thing. And then Jojo, still love you, Jojo, because it wasn't his fault, emailed us to say, womp womp, the whole last section of the recording did not record well and we needed to record. So first we thought, all right, we'll be cool and we'll get back into the same clothes that we had on. I actually do have the same shirt that I had on, but then I realized my hair was curly in the video. Today it's straight. If you are in New Jersey and know the humidity, you know how long it takes to make this happen. Katie had some of her hair down and some it's again, we're doing this all on our own. I can't just call makeup people and hair people to come and fix us the way we were. So we're being honest.
It
We're
was me.
no,
I am the problem. It was
she
me,
is,
you
as
guys.
Taylor
It was
Swift
me.
says, but no,
Yeah.
it was not her fault. Technology sometimes just isn't our friend,
Not my
and
friend.
yeah, and we figured, you know what? Let's just be honest with the people because we are about honesty with the people, and so we are hoping that JoJo can find a good spot to kind of zip this in from where we started. We're going to start back off with level 2. So we were kind of doing, rather than doing a broad running through every single solitary rule in the book, because, you know, you've gotten all this education and we want to make sure we keep this kind of timely. Katey's kind of doing her like top 3 to 5 things to kind of think about in each level. And then I'm chiming in because, you know, that's what I do. I'm a chimer inner. And so we're going to pick up at level 2. We're going to go through to level 4. We're going to do sideline. And then we're going to call it a day and start thinking about what we're going to do for the next episode. So here we go. Zip. Katey, on to level 2. Can you give us a few of the biggies in level 2 that you feel like coaches should know about with this year and any rule changes we might have done?
Yes. Okay. So my top one is actually going to be in the stunt bracket, right there in the stunt bracket. We love leapfrogs. Everybody loves leapfrogs. And last year, when you did your leapfrog, you had to perform it to your original bases. So that was a big deal. And a lot of people asked, can we go to new bases? But so I'm going to tap into 2 rules here. There was another rule that stated we were unable in level 2 to transition to a new set of bases. Now, hint, hint, leapfrogs can now transition to new bases. Yay! We're so excited. Awesome news. But in addition to that, we took that stanza out for level 2 that says you cannot transition to new bases. So we are now able to transition to new bases, not just in a leapfrog, but in your stunt transitions. The key here is that one person must remain in contact with the flyer. So we're not talking about pyramids, we're talking about stunts. So that means someone on the ground, someone in the stunt group. That's going to have to stay connected. So that's a big deal. And I've seen plenty of people submitting their rules questions already with, in particular here, leapfrogs doing really cool transitional stuff. Really cool. And transitioning to those new bases. Love it. You guys
Love
should
it.
love that one too. Yes.
Love it.
The other one, the big one that comes through is the inversions. I'm going to talk to you about 2 different inversions. Your only inversions you can do. We talk about our ground level inversion. Okay. Ground level. I may have already stated this previously, but I'll just keep stating it for anybody who didn't hear before. Ground level means the inversion occurs at ground level. That means the flyer is upside down, touching the ground still. A lot of you see it as a handstand. So the flyer's in a handstand, and then they would take her up into the stunt for level 2. You can go to waist level. Waist level. So that could be single leg, that could be double leg, that could be a V-sit at chest level, because that's a below prep level stunt. So just kind of throwing in those little hint. But
Yes.
remember, ground level means the inversion starts touching the ground. She's inverted while still touching the ground. And then here you can go to waist level. Now, inversion exits. This isn't a new rule, but I've been seeing some creativity here. As the rules director, I always embrace and love creativity. I do. Do it. Push it. Go for it. Oh, I want to see it. And a lot of our rules allow for you to be creative. I would say 99% of our rules allow for you to be
Oh, yeah.
creative, except for this one. So you don't got to push this one.
That's right.
When we're in our cradle position, you can do a back walkover exit inversion. Couple things to keep in mind here, okay? If you are not in a cradle position, then you cannot back walk over exit. So a lot of people were trying it from a flat back, or a lot of people were trying it from a almost cradle position, but they had the lib leg bent or they had it like kicked. So they were landing like this, and then they would kind of scissor the legs out. That's not a cradle position. We define a cradle position. It is a face up pike position. So and legs together. that's your cradle position. So if you want to do that back walkover exit inversion from cradle position, it has to be literally from a cradle position. Yes.
Right.
The other thing is back walkover requires hands, meaning the flyer has to put her hands down on the ground. Okay. So can't get creative there either. I like to say that this is pretty much our only rule, that no creativity. You just
Right.
basic here. If you want to do it, your first step into exit inversions, this is what we're giving you. Take it, love it, leave it. That's my
Love
personal
it.
thought about that.
Yep.
I only really have just a few for level 2. So this is my last one. Actually, you might have some for level 2, but my other one is actually for pyramids, braced release moves. Let's talk about braced release moves really quickly. For specifically level 2, a braced release move is talking about obviously a pyramid. When we talk about braced, we're now talking about a pyramid. So, got to be hand arm. Let's show them, Lisa. All the different ways.
Don't love it. I don't love it. I'll take it, but I
We
don't
don't
love
love
it.
it. But listen, we don't want to give a legality. And if you're out there and
Right.
they're slipping and that finger is still connected, it's still
Hold
braced.
on.
Hold on.
Hold
You don't
on.
let that finger go.
Right.
Okay.
ET,
So,
phone home, Sistine Chapel, whatever you want to call it. We'll take it. We don't like it, but we'll take it.
yes. Yeah. So as long as there's a connection between those bracers, you're good to go. For braced release moves in level 2, you can go to cradle position. Some people have caught on to this. Some people have not. Now, again, that's a hand-arm contact connection, right? You can do tricks, okay?
They're
You
not just
can
for kids.
do, no,
I mean, it is
no.
kids because it's cheer, but you know what I'm saying.
Yeah. No, we can, so if you wanted to be connected by hand arm and that flyer gets released, she's still connected by the bracer and she does a ball position, and she goes to cradle position, fantastic, because we have to go to cradle position. Again, if she lands in ball back, if she lands in um, a, a, a libbed cradle with just one leg bent or one leg up, that's not a cradle position. So kind of going back over to cradle position, I was talking about with those inversions, the same thing applies here. But we allow for more than one trick. More than one trick. So if she wanted to do a ball kick to cradle position, absolutely, my friends. If you want to get real wild and do a ball kick to cradle position, once again, absolutely, my friends. Absolutely. Now, do we expect that? Lisa, you can kind of tap into that. We don't expect you to do 9,000 tricks, right? You want to tap into
No.
that real quick?
Yeah, I
Even
mean,
though
the expectation, right. So you're allowed, again, just because you can doesn't mean you should. But in this
right.
situation, in order to score in the high range, it does have to include the trick.
Yeah.
You are limited in height here because of that hand-arm connection. So there's not a ton of space for that flyer to execute maybe more than a ball kick or a kick or something like that. So once we see that that criteria is met, right, a brace release with trick, now I'm going to look at the execution of that. So just, keep that in mind when you're putting those things together, that we just need to see one for it to count. And then obviously if you do more than that, now we're also evaluating the execution of those tricks and how it gets into that cradle position.
Yep. We see a lot of dynamic things, just even a simple lib, a released, right? A lib to cradle position. That's pretty. That's a
Yeah.
great way to keep the flyer's body upright, showing body position while she's being released to the cradle position. So all of those things can work. You can do 1, you can do 2, you can do 3, whatever fancies you.
Don't
But
do 3.
technique, right?
Yes.
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 I am
Yeah.
going to hop back up to release moves.
Before you do that, because I was
Yes.
going to start at the bottom and work started from the bottom. Now we're here.
Oh,
So can we
do
stay
that.
in pyramids? And you
Yes.
touched on it, and we may have talked about it also in level 1. It's been a while, so I totally forgot.
I
But
know.
I think that we have to make that distinction. I get a lot of questions about what a release move is and what a brace release move is. Okay.
Oh,
So when
nice.
we're
Yeah.
talking about release moves, a release move by definition is when the flyer is released from everybody on the performance surface, right? In the stunt group. Okay.
Yep.
Or it could be that post or something like that. When you think about release moves, the flyer is completely released from the ground, from the performance surface. Okay. A braced release would follow the same thing. The flyer is released from everybody on the performance surface, but they are braced to another flyer, and usually it is hand-arm. So I get a lot of questions when I'm at these clinics. So she's braced. Can she then do a fully released TikTok in level 2? No, she cannot, because that release move is not allowed as a level 2 release move. So you have to remember, you can still do the faux, and we've seen in level 1 now how that's kind of becoming a thing. They would still have to either have the bases holding or the back spotter holding an ankle to kind of do that fake switch, but the flyer cannot lose contact with someone that is on the ground. So when we talk about a release move, it is different from a braced release move. It doesn't mean that it's allowed just because it's braced. We are very specific in the packet on what those braced release moves entail in each level. So I just wanted to just kind of reinforce that a little bit.
That's perfect, because this is going to segue right into this. That was unbelievably perfect, because I'm going right back to release moves,
Oh,
right?
I think I know where you're going. I think I know where you're going.
It's going to go right into what Lisa said. She was talking about the pyramid release move and release move. So now we're going to stunt release moves. We're out of pyramids. I have tons of you who either write in just or are, well, I think I had too much coffee today, or are trying this by video and you're sending it to me. Everybody wants to do a switch up. Everybody wants to do a TikTok, right? In level 2 as a stunt and in a pyramid, but you are not allowed to release that. You are not as a stunt. So yes, if you want to do a faux, you absolutely can. The release moves do not allow for a fully released TikTok or a fully released switch up. That probably is honestly one of the biggest questions that comes through for level 2. There are plenty of really creative ways to make it legal, not just by ankle back spot, things like that. So if you want to show your creativity and try something, go for it, but it has to be non-release. So that means someone on the ground has to be in contact with the flyer. A front spot, back spot, base, either base, just to make that clear, either base or a participant on the ground.
Right. And it doesn't have to be hand-arm. It's got to stay connected. So I want to ask you, how do you feel about back spot on like thigh to thigh? How do you feel about?
Okay.
I'm
I'm 50-50. Yeah, I'm 50-50 on that. And
Yeah.
here's why. I am not against it. I'm okay with it if you want to perform those skills. However, your back spot is not to be a base. They are to be a back spot. So if that flyer is sitting on your back spot, you are going to be risking a legality of not having a back spot because they became a base, right? So I see it, and they perform it beautifully and perfectly in the flyers upright, and she's over her bases, and the back spot could easily move around and catch where needed. And then I also see it where that back spot is underneath that bud, and she's basically holding herself up all by herself. That's not a back spot. So you're going to get dinged on technique, and you're also probably going to get dinged on a warning or a legality of you need a back spot because she's not being a back spot at that point.
Yeah.
So just watch out for that. I'm not opposed to it. I think it provides very quick transitional creativity for what's going to come next.
Yeah.
I do.
Yeah.
But
I get worried. I get worried about an over aggressive pop for like the switch or the tick, and then the back spot loses contact, right?
Yes.
So it's like thigh, and then we toss a little too much, and now it becomes fully released. And while that may not have been the intent, if I'm seeing it with my fresh eyes on that day and it's fully released, it's hard to argue that because it is fully released and I'm going on what I saw. That's the other one that concerns me.
How many times have you been backstage discussing it with the coach, and we have some type of replay, right? And we're watching it and we're going, they're released right there. And the coaches are like, oh my gosh, they've never done that. Yeah. And why is that, you guys? It's because when we go out on that competition floor, we are amped. Nervous. We are powerful. We are ready to throw this thing down. Right?
Right. Yeah.
So, and then they're like, let's get this girl up. And then she goes too high. And it happens over and over. So establishing a better connection or a better ground connection is what you should go for.
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. Okay,
Anything
so
else
that's
in release moves you want to talk about?
oh my god, am I missing something?
Barrel roll?
Oh. Oh, I thought that got in on the last one, but
I don't think it did because I think we were holding it till release moves. So
okay, all right. Okay, so if we
if
say
we have
this
to say,
again, you
if it's,
guys,
it's so nice, we got to say it twice anyway.
yeah, because actually I had 3 this last week submit specifically asking about the front spot. So let's
Yes.
do it. Let's do
Yeah.
it. Okay. So, barrel rolls. We love them. They're so fun. Okay. Right. Do we really love them? Do we really need them? I think if you could see our face right now, if you're able to
If
watch
you're
this,
watching.
then you know that they're not that important. But you guys like to do them, so they're legal and they're allowed, and
Halloween
they are a good.
to squash joy, right?
Yeah, yeah. We don't rock a squash joy. It is a good progression for where you're going next if you're going up to level 3. Sure, sure, sure,
Sure.
sure, sure. So they're legal in level 2. Here's the thing: they are legal as a look at me as a release move. Okay. So if your front spot is staying connected to those feet at the front, yay! It's not a release move. And it's an illegal stunt transition that twists 360 or one full twist, which we're not allowed to do that in level 2.
No, no,
We
no.
can only twist a half, right? So your front spots cannot stay connected. Why did we do that? First and foremost, progression. We want to make sure that these flyers are understanding how to twist on their own. If they go to level 3 next, they have to do that in an upright body position, right?
Right.
So we're teaching progression correctly. Secondly, I was seeing a ton of videos come in and the front spots were chucking those feet up and twisting them as hard as they can. And the chest wasn't getting high. So the flyer was completely inverted, going head
Mm,
down first.
yeah.
Not safe. Not safe.
Yeah.
So it wasn't working for progression and it wasn't working for safety. So front spots, you are not allowed to be connected to the flyer during a barrel roll.
Beautiful. Couldn't have said it better myself.
Okay,
I know.
good.
I was waiting on that one. And
Good. I'm glad you brought
again,
it up.
yeah, like in level 1 because there's a lot of new stuff now, and then level 2 with this introduction of the leapfrog and the transitioning
Yes.
to new bases, and we're going to say it a bunch of times. As you are starting to work on these things, you need to send it in, right? Send it in on the rules question form. We know the short window of time you have to kind of put stuff together. And so we don't want you spending time on something that is illegal. Also, you kind of get it in here where you get locked in on an idea and you're like, we're using that. And then you have to abandon that because that skill is not legal. Not saying that there aren't ways to potentially make it legal, but send it in. It doesn't have to be perfect. We're not looking at the execution. We do want to be able to see it so we can see the actual grips and the skill. And so if you have to do it, record it from the front and record it from the side and all. I think, right, Katey, like the more angles you can get on it, the better it is for you to be able
Yes.
to really give an evaluation to say with confidence, you know what I mean? So if you have this skill and you can kind of do it from a little bit of a rotating viewpoint, a couple of different clips of it, that would be really great. But these are the things you want to send in. These are the things that are important because as we start getting into competition season, as Katey mentioned, we at many events have the ability to stop and slow things down. So if something doesn't look right and we go to look at it and the connection is not there or the front spot is holding on, and it's not like I'm going to dip and then all of a sudden I'm going to let go and then I'm going to catch again. Like we don't want to be playing around with that type of stuff. As soon as she connects, that's stunt transition. So you don't want to be playing around with these types of things. Send it in so that you can get it reviewed and make sure that you're on the right path. So you're not spending time. I don't want to say wasting time because none of it is wasted, but you're not spending time on a skill that then you're going to have to reteach if it is in fact illegal. So that would
Yeah.
just be, I'm just going to reiterate that point a bunch of times.
I'm going to throw something in here too. I
Throw it.
believe I did state it during the last time that we recorded it, but I don't know where exactly it was. Include your kids in these discussions when you're doing choreography,
Ooh.
when you're coaching them. When I used to do choreography, if there was a really specific rule, like this, the barrel roll, I would tell them front spots, you cannot touch. It wasn't
Yes.
just, okay, here we go, front and dip and go, and that's a barrel roll,
Yeah.
boom. I let them know. I included them in on the rules. Why? Because then they would not do that in the future.
They
When
understand the
you need
why.
to expect it, right? They need to understand why, they
Yeah.
need to understand their role, and they need to understand the legality of it. Because too many times they go out there and and the girl's not twisting very good at competition. And she's like, well, I'll just stay connected and twist your feet. No, include them on these little details. Include them on the, yeah, it's
Yeah,
just makes
that's
everything.
an excellent point. I'm not sure if you covered that. You may have
Yeah.
already, but again, still good to kind of reiterate that point and drive some of this
Yeah.
stuff home. It is important, especially with the older kids. They understand, you know what I mean, and being let in. I think also allows them to kind of be in and be a little bit more dedicated. But for the younger athletes, they really need to understand it, right? Not
Yep.
just because I said so, you as the coach because you said so, but understand that if they make that contact, it is then an illegal skill. So they know it's got to be hands off all the way.
Mhm.
Love it.
Mhm.
Love it.
All right. We
All
ready
right.
to
We
do
ready
level
to rock
3?
level 3?
Yeah. Okay.
I think so.
Level
Let's do
3.
it.
I will say this, and Lisa, I know you agree with me on this. Not this year, but the previous year, we made some dramatic changes to level 3, and you guys showed up, you showed out, you were fantastic. It was impressive. We knew
Yep.
this was capable for level 3. We saw you. We knew that where the industry was with level 3, that you were right there with it.
Yep.
And we are so pleased and so proud of you and what you've done with level 3. So good job, everyone. Very,
Great
very
job,
good job.
everybody.
Yeah. Yay, level 3. Go level 3.
Go
Okay.
3. Go
Level
3.
3, we can start. So I'm doing stunts. Level
Yep.
3, we can start to do 360 twists. Yes. Or if you want to call it one full twist, that's completely fine. I want to go over where it can go to or where it can occur from. So in the rules, and I should have opened it up so I could read it, but I'm not going to. So
I can if you
it
want.
talks about going to prep level or occurring from prep level. So let's talk about going to prep level. When we talk, that could be from a sponge up to prep, double leg or single leg. Now, that could be in a standing position. That could be single leg, double leg. That could be in even an extended V-sit, because an extended V-sit is a prep level stunt. So I've seen, you'll notice this year,
Ooh.
brand new, you could do 360 twist transitions into Superman, right? She's going to prone position. So those positions are allowed. A lot of people just think, I have to stand up, I have to stand up, I have to stand up. Sure, scoring wise, right? That could make a difference. But creativity wise,
Yep.
the door is really, really opened for you. If you wanted to go from a prep level lid, say you did your release. Here we get to do our switch up, right? We get to switch up, release, boom, boom to prep level. She goes down into a split and does a 360 into
Ooh.
a flat back. I don't know. I'm just making things up, but
Yeah.
it goes up to extended level. And maybe she even does a kick right there. Cool. Super cool. Right?
Yeah.
And then from there, maybe you press it down and do a full up from here, standing up to prep level in, right? So you can utilize all those different heights. Either you're sitting, you're standing, or you're completely upright, right? Just can't be inverted. Just cannot be inverted. So please just make sure when we say prep level, know the stunt height. Know the stunt
Right.
height. And your world opens up for being creative. Now, on the flip side of that, it says occur from prep level. So that means at prep level, you could perform a prep level to prep level 360. You could
Yep.
perform a prep level to waist level 360. You could perform a prep level to ground level 360. All those types of kind of elements. I love 360s. I think they're so fun. Also,
Yeah.
start considering technique is technique. But just as we introduced, I would say 10 years ago, for flyers to be able to fly on both legs for flexibility purposes and switch ups and TikToks, start teaching your flyers to twist both ways too. Your
Ooh.
creativity will really open up as well. Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Flyers and the bases too, right? Because if they're,
Mm-hmm.
depending on how they're loading in, then that means the bases job becomes a little bit different, and I
Yep.
think as we're getting up into these higher levels, the
Mhm.
idea of like main base, side base kind of doesn't,
Oh,
it's bases, right?
it's
Because
basis.
we're doing all of these release moves and everything. So it's
The
good for
grip.
each of them to understand
Yeah.
all the
Where I
things, right?
started as a main base and now I have to go here. Well, guess what? That's the only way for me to grab eventually, right? So
Right.
now I'm grabbing as a side base technically, but I'm still the main
Yeah.
base. No
Right.
all grips. Yeah, especially as you
Correct.
get into level 3. It just
Yes.
Oh, I love the creativity in level 3.
Yeah,
That's so
and like
fun.
you said, the twisting and being able to be kind of, ambidextrous in those things. Remember back in the day where it was like, do you fly on the correct leg or the
Correct.
wrong leg? Right?
Yes.
The correct
Yeah.
leg. And now it's like
Mm-mm.
we're seeing
You
tons
better
of
know how to
different
fly on
things,
both.
body position, transition, and all that kind of
Mhm.
stuff. So it really does open up and
Yep.
the twisting elements also kind of play into that if you're doing, ticking skills, switching up and that type of thing. So it's
Yep.
really important to work on them both for sure.
Yep. All right,
Yep.
I'm gonna go into I'll tap into release moves. I was gonna do it after inversions, but I
Whatever you got to
said
do.
switch up. I said switch up. TikTok,
You go.
all
You
release
go.
moves are good to go. Thumbs up from prep level. To prep level from prep level. You can't go any higher than this for your release moves. Okay.
And
So
they can twist
just
too, right?
yes, your release moves can twist. 360. Yeah. Yes. And that again, da, 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 that's going to be the best segue because your inversions, your ground level inversions that go up to prep level, they can also twist. They can 360 twist. So not only can your release moves twist, but your inversions can twist too, those ground level to prep level. So if you're noticing a very similar line for twisting, we go to prep level. For release moves, we go to prep level. For inversions, we go to prep level, right? So just keep that all in mind. Those
Yeah.
ground level inversions to prep level. Yes. The other one, the good old forward suspended roll. So Lisa's taking a deep breath. Lisa's taking a deep breath. All right. Some of you call this a Baja. Totally fine. So we're going to reference it as a forward suspended roll. Okay. You can go forward. You cannot twist. You could ball star. You could scissor your legs, but you cannot twist. Okay. Remember all those things. Now, we cannot go backwards. We cannot do a back suspended roll. This is our
Speak to them.
introduction.
Say it again.
This is our introduction to suspended rolls slash Bajas. Okay. We're allowing you to go forward, not backward. However, if you want to get some type of backward inversion, I know this gets a little tricky. So if you wanted from waist level, so if your flyer's at prone, I'm holding her right here. Obviously she could forward roll out of that. She could front walk over out of that. Those are downward exit inversions. The flyer's here. She goes immediately downward and exiting. Okay. So if you have your flyer in a cradle position, and you're like, oh, I can exit inversion out of this. And you take that flyer, you dip her, and you launch her up into the air. That's a back suspended roll. In order for a downward exit inversion to be legal in level 3, whether you're going forward or whether you're going backward, it must go down, exit. Okay. So you can get as creative as you want with that, but do not teach your kids to dip and lift up because that going backward would be backward suspended roll, a Baja. Yes.
I have a question.
Question.
Thank you.
Yes.
Okay. So let's say I catch the cradle. We're in a cradle, right? Flyers facing up and in the pike position. And I am down and I'm squatted and my arms are at my waist. Without
Okay.
dipping, could I take the flyer's feet, put them over her head, right, to the performance surface, and she not put her hands down because it's waist level?
Correct. Yes. So her head
Okay.
is going downward, right? Her head is
Right.
not going upward and then boom. Yes. She
Right.
does not need to put her hands down. So you guys would do here, you're taking her down and out, down and out. Yeah. So her hands did
Right.
not have to touch. Same thing from that prone position. If you're at waist level, she does not have to put hands down for that front walkover. I'm sure you guys have seen it, but they wrap around the bases and then
Yep.
it looks like a front aerial because the hands
Yep.
are not on the ground. So that
Yep.
too would be legal for level 3. Yeah.
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 And I feel like I'm always squashing your joy a little bit because you do all these creative things. And then I'm like, but, my thing, and I think this is one of the things we saw last year. So it's always like on my mind that what you're wanting to give the illusion of a back suspended roll many times. And even though you'll practice it, they take they take the weight of the dip and then they wind up going up and flipping that athlete over. So again, while you have this idea in your mind and you coach it, when they are out there on the competition floor and adrenaline is pumping and they catch, and as they go to catch her, they're using that dip and then they bring it up. Now we're in that illegal backward suspended roll. So it may not be the one you want to choose. It may not be, I like to say, where you live. It may not be the place where you live because there just might be too much chance of it going into that illegal territory. So just be careful with that. And that's one too, where you're like, but I sent it in, right? But I sent it in and you approved it. And we're like, okay, cool. Let us look at the video. And in the video, we're practice, we're calm, we're cool, whatever. And they hear it and they hold it and then they go. And then we watch the video when you performed and they're like, ah, ah, right?
Oh,
Yes. And we're like, I know it seems silly,
oh,
but it's not
she
the
went to
same.
Mars. Yeah, yeah.
Right, right. I don't think she's down yet, right? So,
It
you
happens,
know,
you guys. It happens to all of us. Like,
it does,
even
it
in our
does.
coaching day, we see it and we're like, oh my gosh, why did
Right,
they do that? Yeah,
right,
yeah,
right.
yeah.
So those are the things that you and I again, I get it as the choreographer part of you is like, but I have this vision in my head and I don't want to squash that as scoring or legality person, but I also want you to understand that that also is not necessarily in the high range. It's a great stunt transition that I think could do well. But you got to be strategic. I say it all the time about what do we want to take chances on because that's a potential 1 point deduction that you probably don't want to risk at that point. So
Correct,
yeah,
correct.
yeah,
All right, my last one for level 3, and again, we can work our way back up if you have
hmm
something. My
hmm
last one for level 3 is going to be talking about pyramid, braced rolls versus braced flips. Okay. We got to know, you guys, that these are two completely different skills. Completely different skills. Okay. So, first of all, let's get this out. Level 3, you are not allowed to do braced flips. Nope. That means the flyer is braced by other flyers and she is fully released from her stunt group and she either does a front flip or a back flip. In level 3, that is not allowed. Not allowed. You cannot do, I'm shaking my finger. You cannot do that in level 3, okay? But you'll notice in the rules, talks about braced rolls and it's a short little bullet. It's super short. And why? Because you can be really creative with it when we make the word short. So braced rolls are very similar to braced flips, but there is a huge change, a huge difference, I should say.
yeah.
You have one connection to a bracer. So that's a flyer in a stunt, whether that is, and we'll go over this a little bit. So let's say they've got a hand-arm connection, okay? Now, then the other hand has to be in contact with, it's not hand, you can hint, it can be hand or foot, but we'll talk about that. Thank you, Lisa. Oh, cute
I thought you
shoe.
like them too. Yeah,
Those
but
are so
it
cute.
could be hand foot. Yeah,
So a connection has to be established between someone in your stunt group. Okay. So that could be back spot base, right? Now, that's basically all we say in that. Now that
yeah.
can go forward, that can go backward. That does not have to be hand, arm. It can be back spot could have the ankle, a bracer could have the hand, or vice versa. Bracer could have the foot, back spot could have the hand, arm. The big one here is that it can only go, the highest point is prep level. So you can start at prep level and go down. You can start below prep level and go to prep level. Yeah.
Yep. Can you start on the
Yeah.
grounds? Can you start from the grounds?
You can
Right.
start on the ground and you can have an arm to my bracer, arm to my back spot, and I can dip and I can backflip to a prep, all while those connections are still there. Yes. So I've got my bracer, got my back spot. We've got these connections. So that's where your start of a want of a braced flip, it's actually going to be in braced rolls.
Right.
So there's a clear distinction between the two of them. If you
It's
ever
not
get
a release
confused,
move.
not a release move because you have some type of connection with someone in your group at all times. At all times.
Correct. Yep.
If you ever get confused, go to the glossary. We have terms for both. And I also have a ton of braced roll videos on my TikTok account. A ton. and people are
Oh, that
loving
one
them.
video has like
They're
that team does like 73 of them.
They do so many, it's
Yeah,
unreal.
yeah.
So, if you can't find it on TikTok, you could always message me, email me, because I am using that as reference quite a bit for rules when people write in, "What's a braced rule?" It is a great example. So
Mhm.
go, look at it, find it. Yes.
Yeah,
Those are my
rhinestones and rules.
Oh, yeah, rhinestones and rules, thank you very
Yes,
much.
yes.
Those are my level 3s. Do you have anything else?
I think we've got them all covered. I do wanna say, because again, as I'm out and about in the world with coaches, I get a lot of questions about, does this need to have this? And does this have to be hand arm? And does it have to be braced on both sides? We are very specific in these rules where if it needs to be braced on both sides, we specifically say must be braced on both sides and what that connection must be. So if you do not see it there, that means that it is pretty much wide open and we're not specifying hand arm or hand foot. We'll say on at least one side, which
Mhm,
then means you only need one side, which means you don't need to have two bracers. So we're trying to be we're not trying to trick you. We're trying to tell you exactly what it takes for it to be legal. And again, if you're unsure, you can always send it in and ask the questions. And I also want to say, please, I'm starting to get more rules questions in the support email, right? And so please understand that Katey and I have kind of talked this through. And while we have so many relationships over time, I'm not answering rules questions in the support email. So I'm going to very kindly send you the link to the rules question form so that this way it can get answered in the way it should. And then we all have that information. But anyway, we get asked a lot, and I get asked at clinics, which I can answer at clinics. Um, if they're holding on with two hands, does that mean it's braced on two sides? And that answer is no. If I have a bracer over here and she's holding both hands to my one hand, that's still braced on one side. So this is a side, front is a side, and back is a side. So when we talk about, I think it's here in brace release moves to non-upright body position, right? So that's like a ball back or something like that. We are very specific where it says two separate bracers
yes,
in
yes,
prep level or below stunts with hand arm contact. That means both of them must have hand arm contact, one hand each to a separate bracer. So
yeah,
we really try to not keep you guessing, but if you're unsure, obviously reach out. But we're usually pretty specific, and if we're not, then you can assume that then there is not that much, I'm going to say restriction, but guideline or rule on how that has to be. And the brace roll is probably one of the bigger ones. We
mhm,
hear brace roll, we think braced flip. And as we were talking about in level 2, remember, a release move and a braced release move are two different things. So this doesn't
right,
say braced release roll, it just says braced roll, which
mhm,
means that it then cannot be released. So it has to remain in contact with somebody on the ground. So these are just like the little things that we're, again, trying to empower you with so you feel comfortable when you're doing your choreography or when you're talking to your choreographer and you're, going through different things and trying to put some new ideas in. So I don't really have anything to add, other things to think about. I just wanted to add those things about what you've already talked about.
okay, alright, level
We're moving
4.
on, we're
I
moving
know you're
on.
out there, level 4. This one's for you. Okay, level 4. I'm actually going to do a little tumbling one. So,
Ooh,
tumbling, because these athletes are wildly talented at this point, insanely talented. We also see a lot of creativity with our tumbling. And don't forget to read the prohibited section, not just for level 4, my friends, but also whatever
mhm,
level
mhm.
you're in, tap into the prohibited section. It's very helpful and could prevent you from wasting your time on trying something that is illegal. So for level 4, I believe it's one of the first things that's on the prohibited for tumbling. 3/4, so not a full rotation. Like you could do a punch front into a seated position. It's not allowed. We do not allow that. So 3/4 flips to a seated position are not allowed. Not allowed. So just keep that in mind, please. I do see that a lot, especially in the dance section. People like to do really cool visual flips, right? In level 4, we can
Uh-huh.
try these things. But going to that seated position, it is illegal. It is legal. I think I might have to sneeze.
God bless you.
Thank you. Sorry. Maybe JoJo can edit that out.
Yeah, we'll figure it out or not. I mean, that's part of real life. We sneeze around here, people.
Oh my
We're not
gosh. Okay,
robots.
sorry everybody. Got my little note card. Okay, so now I'm going to tap into stunts. This is pretty specific. Our verbiage is very just boom boom here, and you're going into level 4. So 1.5 twists are allowed. However, let me talk about this. That can go to prep level. That can go to extended level. That can
Woo.
go to single leg, double leg. I want you to notice the things that are not mentioned, like Lisa just said for the level 3 braced release moves. What is not being mentioned? It talks about 1.5 twists, right? 1.5 twists. So you can do a 1.5 twist to prep level. You can do a 1.5 twist to extend level. You could go single leg, double leg, body position, all those things. Don't think like, oh, I can only go to prep. No, it doesn't say that. So go up to extended level. If you can, go for it. Go for it. Now I'm going to tap into, oh, dismounts, 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 dismounts. All right. Double downs. Can't do it. I
Nope.
know. Can't do it. And if
Your
I,
your athletes' noses will thank you.
yes, yeah. There are many of us across the United States that practice on grass, and many of us that sometimes get into a gym, a warehouse, something that we roll down mats, but it's not frequent enough. And when we're performing something like that, we need to be on a mat at all times. And it's the youth industry. We can't always provide that, right? Your guys' organization can't provide that. We practice, like I said, on grass. So it's just not a skill that we think is safe to be performing consistently in an area we don't know where you're going to be practicing. Um, it's so we develop dismounts to be progression wise. They still can do some amazing things, but unfortunately, double downs, not unfortunately, they don't, you don't need to be doing them. You don't
Yeah.
need to be doing them. Yep.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, again, going again onto that kind of like youth availability mentality, if you will, right? And when we talk about certain skills, right, the ability to train that skill definitely takes some time, right? We have the backup proof of injury from
Yeah.
that skill, right?
Yeah, we do.
So a lot of times we're like, well, we're not getting any reports that this is being something of a safety concern. We have seen this firsthand. And so it's like, while we are very much on following progressions in so many other areas, and we have said before, level 4 is a little bit of a hybrid. It does mix in some level 5 all-star skills, and that's
Mhm.
for the ability to retain athletes and those types of things. But this one, it does take a while to master this skill, and we just felt like we're not dropping off too much with the not allowing it. So I think that also makes sense. And really, we haven't really gotten much like, hey, would you put this back? You know what I mean?
Not
Like, I
at
think
all.
it's been accepted, and I think that it is
Yes.
in some fashion. I think it might be a bit of a relief, right?
Hmm.
Because when you put the harder things in, and those coaches are like, we have to do all the hard things, right? And so this kind of takes a little bit of the pressure out of that bubble to kind of say, okay, this is not something, that we need to really work on, because it's not the requirement, or especially not the requirement in a high range. So I think it's a good
Correct.
choice for us. I really do.
Yeah, I do too. All right, pyramids. So we talked about in level 3 that you can do braced rolls, but you can't do braced flips. Well, as we tinker on over into level 4, we can now brace flip. So let's talk
Yeah.
about brace flips for a while, because I'm also going to tap into general safety. So brace flips, we have to be hand arm contact on both sides. So that means me, the flyer, I'm connected to Lisa, whatever side she is on me, connected to Lisa, and I have another bracer also on the other side. Okay. Hand arm only. No, they cannot do foot. Okay. It's got to be me, the flyer. I have both of my hand arms connected to 2 separate bracers. Now we say that those bracers must be in a prep level. Okay. Prep level or below stunt. Let's talk about the prep level or below stunt. What I am seeing goes back into general safety. all prep level and above stunts require a back spot. So
We even
these,
get more specific than that. We say extension prep, right? So it
oh,
can't even be like a shoulder stand or anything. We say extension prep or below prep
yes,
level stunt.
you're talking about, I'm going to do the stunt heights in a little bit. You're
Oh,
right.
I'm sorry. My bad.
That's okay. That's okay. So we are, you have to have a back spot. So what I'm seeing is all these two bases, boom, two legs with no back spots
Oh, yeah.
trying to brace their flyer, and it's illegal. You have to have a back spot. So now we're going to tinker into that. Then I'm starting telling people it's illegal. You have to have a back spot, and they go, "Okay, we're going to do shoulder stands." Still can't do it because the rule, like Lisa said, the
Sorry, I
rule
buried
is
your lead. Sorry.
it says it has to be an extension prep. So what is an extension prep? That's two bases and a back spot at prep level. Each base has a foot, right? So we can't be doing shoulder stands. We can't be doing single base stunts. We can't be doing prep level single legs. It is an extension prep. So if you're like, well, I don't have enough people. I only had enough people to put up a prep that didn't have a back spot, but that's illegal. And I only had enough people to do a shoulder stand, but I can't do a shoulder stand. What do? You can do a shoulder sit. You can do a shoulder sit. Okay. I've seen it plenty times. It'll give you the same credit. You can do shoulder sits on both sides, and shoulder sits don't need back spots. So if you're a team
Never.
of 8, you can do this. Okay. Now the rule specifically states that it has to land in cradle position. It can go forward, so a front flip, or it can go a back flip, but it has to land in cradle position. So going all the way back to level 2, where we talked about that cradle position and what it was, can't do anything fancy in that cradle position.
Can you
Okay.
catch it
Can't do,
here? Can you catch it here at
nope,
shoulder height?
nope, no, you sure can't.
Can I catch it in a
Sorry.
sponge?
Nope,
No. I gotta
no.
catch it cradle, right?
Yeah.
It says cradle
Yeah.
position.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay, cool.
But I'm going to actually reference the rule here so that I read it, you hear it, and then we're going to talk about it. So it is the second bullet. Braced front and back flips are are legal provided. Has a bunch of different things. You'll notice that it's 1, 2, 3, 4. So number 1 is talking about the connection between the two bracers. Number 2 is that has to go to the original group. That's giving the flyer the released flip. Number 3 is it's caught in the cradle position, and that the flyer doesn't perform any other skills is number 4. What it's not saying is where the flip occurs from. So
Mhm.
if you wanted to do it from, a prep, absolutely. If you want to do it from a sponge, like Lisa said, absolutely. If you wanted to do it from an extended lib, notice the things that it's not saying. Don't
Right.
just focus on, wait, hold on. Focus on what it's saying, but notice where it's not. And then again, use that creativity. That's deliberate. We have to land in a cradle position. But if you wanted to do you're in an extended lib and you press that lib down to get a good push pop, boom, and then she tucks, front flips into
Mhm.
that cradle position, you're going to get nice height with that. Beautiful height with that.
Sure.
Yeah. Okay. So just noticing those things that can better help your technique and your creativity within the rules. And that's one of them.
Beautiful.
Yeah. That's it for level 4.
All right.
Level
Do
4.
we wanna talk about inversions at all? Because now you have the forward flipping leapfrog and the Baja and all
Yeah.
that kind of stuff, right? So
Yeah.
just wanna mention that because we do see those a lot. Again, not high scoring, high ticket items, but
Yeah.
you can now do an actual Baja with a twist, and
Yep.
the leapfrog, which can start in one and go to another, can now also flip. No twisting,
No
right? But it
twisting.
can flip. Yeah, yeah,
So the difference here, so she's talking about the Baja, the forward suspended roll.
yeah,
Forward suspended roll and Baja remains within your own stunt group. If
yeah.
you're going to cradle position, the bases catch the cradle. If they're going to ground, bases still have the connection. Yes, it remains in your own stunt group. Forward flipping leapfrogs for level 4, that's when you're doing a flipping motion, much like the forward suspended roll, the
Yeah.
Baja, but you're going into a new group. That is legal at level 4. Yes.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Beautiful.
All right. I think we kinda I mean, there's a lot. There's a
It's a lot.
lot, but I think we covered the good stuff. I
Yep.
think we hit on all the hot spots, and I think that it's really great to kinda have this for the coaches to reference. But also, again, as we talked about, there are so many ways for them to find out if skills are legal, and we want to continue that process. So, any
Absolutely.
final parting words from you, the rules guru, aficionado, director extraordinaire for these folks?
Um, Submit your questions, submit your videos. I don't think we
Yeah.
can say it enough. It is a service that Lisa and I didn't grow up with. And I want everybody to be on an even playing field when they go to competition. I want the best person to win, not the best person to win because of potentially a legality. I want you all to go out there and who's going to be the best and nobody get legality. So submit. And I have so many of you so kind and sweet, but that start sending things in and they go, I'm so sorry. This is my fifth one. I'm so, so sorry. Girl, you doing it right.
Right.
You
That's
I
it.
am so happy to see your name consistently coming in because you
Only
are a
5?
good
Right.
coach. You're a good coach.
Yeah.
You're using the service. I would have loved to have this service back in my day, but it wasn't there, and
There
it's
wasn't
here now.
computers back in my day. Whereas wasn't really computers back in my day. So
Stop
we
it.
just says yell out the window. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So use what's being given to you. It's a beautiful service. I am more than happy to look at these things for you. Yeah. Um, Use it. Don't ever think you're doing too much. You're not. Send it in, send it in, send it in. It's
Yeah.
there for you. We believe in you and want all of you to be as successful as possible. Yeah.
Perfect. All right. Hey, that's going to be it for us today. It's actually been like 3 days. It's taken us about 3 days
Yeah.
to get this episode done, but it's done now. We're going to check this up. And I got to tell you, when this started, you started getting a little pixely and I was like, maybe just the gods don't want us to do this episode. I'm not sure what's happening, but I think we made it through.
Yeah.
JoJo's going to tell us that really soon. So you may see us again in different outfits talking about the same thing, or we got it. We made it happen.
Again, I
And
got
we
dressed
will,
today. I put on an
yeah,
outfit and we're just,
exactly. If I'm
yeah,
getting dressed,
we're going to
we're
do
doing
some
it.
recordings.
Right. Exactly. Exactly. All right. Have a fantastic week. We'll be back next week with another episode. I am no longer saying what next week episode is going to be because we keep changing our minds because we keep having these phenomenal guests and we're like, no, we got to put this one on. No, we got to put this one on. So come back next week. It'll be a surprise. It'll be a surprise to you. It'll be a surprise to us what we're going to talk about. Have the best week ever. Be kind
Yep.
to one another and we'll see you all soon. Bye,
Bye,
everybody.
everybody.